Let's go ahead and set up our first document in Adobe Illustrator. Now, it may seem daunting thinking about all the new tools and the interface and all those things that kind of push us away from the program. But I'm going to walk you through it slowly and help you set up your first document and kind of avoid some pitfalls later on, but help you feel a little bit more comfortable with some of the lingo that they're using within the program and just get you set up for your first project. So let's go ahead and go down here. I'll click on Adobe Illustrator CC. That's what I have, the Creative Cloud version. If you're using an older version like CS5 or CS6, don't worry, there's not enough changes in this new one that'll make this difficult for you at all. You'll have 99% of the same tools that I do. I may highlight some of the newer tools for those using CC because there's some really cool ones, and I would highly recommend using it. It's the subscription-based version from Adobe that allows you to get any of the updates or new tools that they have immediately as soon as they're released. So highly recommend it. And so let's go ahead and set up our first document and go to File, New. And this little box here is going to save you a lot of time down the road if you can get this filled out correctly. There's the name. We'll just go ahead and name it New Doc because I'm feeling crazy. And your profile. This will help you kind of set up some defaults here and kind of lay your groundwork for you so you don't have to click every single one each time. So there's I'll click on Web first so we can take a look at that. You have artboards. So your artboards, that's really just saying it's your paper. And you'll be putting in any artwork that you want to create goes on these artboards. So just think of it as you're putting all this art on this paper. So anything that shows up on there will show up when you save it and get it ready for print. Everything outside of it will be in the file but won't be printed. Hope that helps. There's also, you get your sizes. They give you some default sizes that you can choose from. For web, this is great, so you know some of the standard website sizes and widths and screen sizes. That's just all. That's really handy. You also get units that you can choose, and pixels obviously for web is perfect. You can set those manually yourself. You have the orientation of your paper or your artboard, and then you have your bleed settings, which you won't need because you're working in web. If you click, this might not be clicked, so if you click on your advanced, you'll see different things like your color mode. RGB is for web, it's the color setting for web, and then CMYK, of course, is for print. Raster effects is 72 ppi, perfect for web. And then you'll also have this right down here, which says align new objects to pixel grid. Now that's great for when you're working in web because it'll set everything to a pixel grid. So you can't split pixels on web, of course, so it helps you align those. And so it's frustrating though if you have a print document but you have this checked because then you're trying to align some objects together but they just won't because it's not going to split pixels for you. So printing, you don't have to care about any of that. So just have that unchecked if you're doing print. And you'll notice as I click print, it'll take that off. So let's go ahead and look at these here for sizes. Now it gives you the American versions, standard sizes, and European as well. We'll just stick with letter for now. And it automatically sets it to points. I like inches. And bleed settings now are something I need to think about because if I'm going to print this, it's going to need some room. If I'm having images or color bleed over the side of my paper or up to the edge of the paper, I'm going to need a bleed. So every printer will ask for something different, every project, so I just keep it at 0.25 to be safe. And it'll set that all the way around. And if you want to do multiple artboards, I forgot to go back to that, you can. I'm really lazy sometimes and didn't want to learn how to, or I know how to use them, but I haven't spent enough time in them to be worth my time, like a Keynote and PowerPoint. So I make a lot of my presentations in Adobe Illustrator. That's one of my confessions to you all, I guess. But it's actually really easy for me to do because I can choose how many slides or artboards that I want, and you can arrange them by, grid them by column or by row, and you can change how many columns you have. You can change how far apart or close the artboards are to each other. So lots of things that you can do there. But I'm just going to choose 2 just so you can see what it looks like. And I have it set to inches, 8.5 by 11. I want to go landscape. I have my bleed. Now, it is CMYK, which is for print. The raster effects, I lied a little bit when I said everything is vector in Illustrator because some of your effects aren't, like your drop shadows. And so having them set to like a 300 ppi is great for print. And if you're on, for screen, it could be 72, but I always just set it at 300 because even if it was a web project, I may want to make it print later. So I want to set that the right way. And obviously don't have that clicked if you're not in web because that'll be really annoying. All right, so let's click OK. And here is Adobe Illustrator. Here's your workspace. Now all this gray out here, just think of that as your desk. These white things are your paper, which are your artboards in Illustrator. And everything that you create needs to be in here. Now you can create it out here, but it won't if you're going to be printing it. This is your printable area. So you'll have this little red line here. That's your bleed. So for those of you who don't know exactly what bleeds are, you've never dealt with those before. If you have an image, if you want to fill a full pink, oh, it's really pink. So if you want to fill a full page of color and you're going to have this printed, you're going to want to have those, have your color fill all the way to the edge of these bleed lines. So that's kind of counterintuitive a little bit because everything outside of here won't be printed, but it will because later when you save it, you can say save with the bleed settings intact, and so it'll incorporate this area as well, just so the printer can cut it off. That goes for shapes too. If you're going to have images like something, inside your thing, it's going to be bleeding off the edge here. A lot of people will just want to shave this down and make that easier to make it. That's exactly what it'll look like. Don't shave it down. I'll show you better ways to do it later, but to hide it. But for now, you want to leave that off the edge so that they can cut that off themselves. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, maybe I don't want this other artboard. I can go into Document Setup right up here, and then go to Edit Artboards, and I can go ahead and there's a little X right here. Or if I highlight this one, hit the X, or I can hit the little trash can here and delete the artboard. But if you'd noticed, they're numbered, so that comes into account when you need them to be sequential. So take that into account whenever you create a new one. It's not going to be number 1, so when you save it, it won't show up as first or whatever. So you'll have to rearrange those yourself. But they are numbered for you. Maybe I want to some things that I do often with my artboard. And would be maybe I want to duplicate this exact thing. Maybe this is a template that I want for all my other ones. So what I'll do is I can go hit the wrong button is what I hit. If you hit Alt or Option and Shift, you click and drag, you'll notice that my whole piece of artwork and my artboard came with it. Now maybe I didn't want the artwork, I just want the artboard. And you can click, there's a button right here, Move Copy Artwork with Artboard. So you can go ahead and click, and now it's just bringing your canvas because I have it unchecked. If you want to start your own, if you want to start a new one just like this artboard, just click here, New Artboard, and you got one. And you can make them, and you can keep making as many as you want here. If I keep zooming out, you have a huge desk, so you have a lot of room to play with. So I'm going to take out that one, and maybe I just want to create a custom size one. If I'm over here, I click and drag, I can customize my own new artboard, or this existing artboard, I can go ahead and click on these anchors here and drag it and change the size here. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what you can do with your page. And all these little things may seem a little nitpicky right now, but believe me, they will help you. And you can also, another thing you can do too is you have your sizes here. So it's 8.5 by 11, but you can change that. You can change the size of your artboard here as well. So maybe I wanted this to be like a 5 by 5. It'll automatically change that for you. So pretty awesome. There's more presets that you can go in here. You can reorient right here. You can name them. But that is the first introduction, just setting up your new document within Adobe Illustrator. Later on, I want to talk a little bit more about your preferences panel, because there's a whole lot more you can change in here. The key one being your keyboard increment. Now, real quick, what a keyboard increment is when you have a shape and you want to move it left, right, bottom, wherever, you click the arrow buttons. You see mine's barely changing, but if I went back to preferences, I can change that. And what if I did this, put a 1 here, click OK. Now watch when I hit the right arrow. You'll see it jump bigger steps, and that'll help you set things a little bit quicker. So, but yeah, so I hope that helps you. Let's meet up again in the next video, and we'll learn more about our saving our documents, and we'll learn about our workspaces. All of this right here, how we can customize this for ourselves and for each project that we take on, and then what some of these basic tools are. And we can start showing you how to put some things together and really feel comfortable within Illustrator. So looking forward to seeing you in the next video.